Yes.
So, Professor Collinge, I've got a handful of questions from call participants. Is the DuPont product that you were telling us about for decontamination of surgical instruments used in other countries?
Not to my knowledge, no. I think DuPont just stopped manufacturing it.
How many patients do you have under your clinic? How many patients are on the books, as it were?
Oh, I don't know. We get about 150 new referrals a year. I'm not sure how many are followed up long term.
Is that a fairly stable number?
It's going up gradually, year on year.
You told us about the view that the amount of infected blood making a difference to the risk of developing VCJD. This question is about whether the amount of infected blood product has any connection to the length of the incubation period for the development of the disease.
It can do, certainly in laboratory animals. There's if high doses of infection are applied, you have a rather constant incubation period, but as you go down to very low doses, the doses that may or may not infect the animal, the incubation period lengthens. Yes, so with low dose exposure, you expect even longer incubation periods.
And I don't know whether you know the answer to this question, but does the fact of having a pre-existing condition, such as haemophilia, have any impact on whether or not you will develop symptomatic VCJD?
There's no evidence one way or another on that I'm aware of. I think the only pertinent piece of evidence would be that, again, from animal models, there's evidence that if there is chronic inflammatory disease going on, prions, as I've mentioned, can replicate in the lymphoreticular system. And where there's inflammation and a lot of white blood cells, you can get areas of prion infection that wouldn't otherwise have been infected. That's been seen in some animal models. So it's not inconceivable, given obviously in haemophilia you do have bleeds into the joint and chronic inflammation, that it's not impossible it might have an effect. But I'm not aware of any clear evidence for increased risk.
And equally, does the fact of having a pre-existing condition such as haemophilia have any impact on the incubation period for the development of symptomatic VCJD? Again,
I can't see why it would. I can't rule it out, but I don't see any scientific basis for that, it affecting the incubation period.
And then lastly, can your clinic provide counselling to recipients of implicated batches of pooled plasma products?
We're very happy to receive referrals from any GP or neurologist that wants to refer their patient to us for counselling, yes.
And the same question, but in relation to those who have been notified that they're at risk of VCJD for public health purposes because they are part of a group. So, for example, people with bleeding disorders. Although they have not been identified as a patient who has received an implicated batch of pooled plasma. So in relation to that group of patients, would your clinic provide counselling to them?
We're open to help anyone that needs our help. We'd need a referral from a GP or the patient's consultant, whatever sort of consultant that was. But we'd be very happy to help in any way we could.
So those are all the questions. I just turned behind me that I've had from CPs. Yes, I've had no further questions. I don't believe that there are questions from Professor Collinge's legal representative. Do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Professor Collinge, is there anything that you would like to say or to add to your evidence?
I don't think so, thank you.
Well, there is something I'd like to say, which is a rather big thank you to you for coming to give evidence which has been so clear, so plainly informed and explanatory, and doing it in such a measured way. It's not always been the experience in this inquiry that things have been stated without exaggeration on the one hand, or without looking at things through too rosy a spectacle on the other. And you seem to me to have told it just as it is, as you see it. So thank you very much for all that. Now, Ms. Scott, let me just say a word to everyone who might be listening. A core participant mentioned to a member of my staff earlier today that this evidence, and for that matter some of the evidence we've heard this week, may bring some distress to a number of people who've been listening. It's obviously the case that many people have had warning letters which tells them that they are at risk, and if they are those who have already suffered from HIV infection or hepatitis C infection, they may have thought to themselves, here we go again, and wonder how big and how serious the risk is. Today in particular, we've heard quite a lot of information about that. If that causes any difficulties for individuals who've been listening, I just want to remind them that we do have, and it remains available, a confidential psychological counselling assistance service. Please use it if you feel any need to do so. I shan't give you the details because they're available on the website very clearly, but just to remind people of that in case you may need it. Thank you very much. We take a break now, don't we, till next Monday? Next Tuesday.
Tuesday, yes.
And then we have?
Professor Ironside.
Thank you. So till then, 10 o'clock Tuesday.